Coming to you from a studio somewhere out there, it's Enough Already Radio with Fingers Malloy and Tracy L. Connors.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's another Enough Already podcast. My name is Fingers Malloy. Tracy L. Connors is here, as always. Hello, Tracy.
Hello, Fingers.
It's getting close to Christmas. You have the shopping all done?
Nope.
Not even close?
I haven't even started.
Oh, just a reminder, I wear a size bourbon.
Okay.
In case you're curious.
You like the flavored ones, right?
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic.
Did they do pumpkin spice this year or not?
Yes, it's called schnapps.
Okay.
No, so far I've seen, let's see, the apple flavored whiskey, maple flavored whiskey, salted caramel whiskey.
Uh-huh.
I think that's it.
Well, Fireball.
Ugh. The fact that people even call that whiskey disgusts me. Have you had Fireball?
I don't believe that I have. My understanding is it tastes like Goldschlager. Is that right?
Yeah, or Hot Damn. Have you ever had Hot Damn?
Not to my recollection. That doesn't mean I haven't, though.
Hot Damn. It's like a hot cinnamon schnapps. Okay. Which I can actually understand. At least you're going into this transaction knowing you're drinking schnapps. There are 77 different flavors of schnapps. There's no schnapps-flavored schnapps that I'm aware of. It's always, okay, here's a peach schnapps or peppermint schnapps. Oh, okay. There's nothing wrong with a little syrupy drink every once in a while during the holidays. But when you run around saying, I'm drinking whiskey. Oh, yeah, what kind of whiskey are you drinking? Fireball. No. But yes, you're right. It's like a Goldschlager kind of. It's just a hot cinnamon drink. And people now, you can get a container of it that will go into your freezer with a tap.
Oh, God.
You know, because you need your Fireball ice cold.
And on tap.
Yeah. But, no, I don't get any of it. There's only one acceptable flavor of whiskey, and it's whiskey-flavored whiskey.
Okay. I can remember that.
I actually tried Scotch for the first time in a long time. Over the weekend. And it was a reminder to myself that I don't like Scotch.
Okay. And what is the difference?
Yes. I can't break down the difference in, bourbon versus Scotch, how it's distilled. All I know is I'm just not a fan. I had some Johnny Walker Swing, I think it was called. Johnny Walker Swing, which I had never heard of before.
Yeah.
Have you?
No.
Or maybe it was Swing? Yeah, Johnny Walker Swing. Not a fan. Not a fan of Scotch seemed to be really popular in the early 2000s. And so, I got to get a Scotch and soda or Scotch on the run. And
Okay. Well, I Googled it. What's the difference here?
Okay, what's the difference between Scotch and
All right.
bourbon or whiskey?
All right.
Whiskey.
In the preview to this on Google, it seemed like the answer was right there. But now that I open the article, I got to dig for it. So this is from the Thrillist. Sounds like a fun site, right?
Yeah.
So here's one of the little subheadings in this story. Scotch versus bourbon versus rye, a complete guide to whiskey's varieties. So what is whiskey? Hey, good question. This article. You guys are sitting writing this. Hey, good question, you. Technically, it's a distilled alcoholic beverage made from fermented grain mash. This mash is typically aged in wooden casks, which gives it that distinct brown color and taste. Okay, thank you. Now it's telling me all the popular brands. So what makes whiskey bourbon? This one's a doozy, Fingers, so bear with us.
It's 51% corn, right?
Yeah. For whiskey to be considered bourbon, the mixture of grains from which the product is distilled, the mash, must be at least 51% corn, rye, wheat, malted barley, or malted rye grain. On top of that, the mixture must be stored in charred oak containers and cannot contain any additives. So I knew that about the containers, which apparently happened by accident.
This is, by the way, this is how Tony Katz opens Eat, Drink, Smoke every time on, because we talk about the, the corn mash, that's the bourbon, but we have not reviewed a Scotch yet, so I'm curious.
Oh.
What the difference is.
Well, I think the Scotch. Okay. So now I got to find. Okay, here's Scotch. Scotch is technically whiskey, but spelled without the E. That has been distilled and matured in Scotland. It is made mostly from malted barley. Remember, bourbon is made from corn. Scotch in layman's terms taste a lot like bourbon, but with the trademark bite, dragging along the back of your tasting.
Yes.
Okay.
That's true.
All right, this is the reason some people stay away from Scotch. They say Scotch tastes like rubber, wood, fire, dirt, and leather.
Yes.
But in a good way.
Yes, that's true. I mean, look, the sweetness of the corn versus barley.
Yeah.
Has
not
to
so
be
good.
The difference. Yeah, it's...
And I know that the barrels that are used to make bourbon can only be used once. And then once they use them to make bourbon, then they send them to Scotland and they can be used to make Scotch.
Oh.
And they can be used over and over again.
Or some companies, like Jack Daniels, they'll chop up the barrels. And then you can buy wood chips from the barrels for your smoker. If you want to smoke meat, you can get Jack Daniels barrel wood to smoke.
Have you ever done that?
Yes.
Is it good?
I don't notice the difference.
Oh, okay.
I don't. Once you throw the wood in there, and you're making a brisket, or there are years for Thanksgiving I would smoke a turkey. You get that nice smoke flavor, but I don't get the hint of whiskey.
I've had smoked things, and everything just tastes like fire.
Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, no. It just tastes like smoke.
Well.
Yeah, I'm like, nah, no thanks.
And you don't like Scotch, do you? Or
no, I'll drink bourbon.
Yeah.
I like Bullet.
Yes. I've been having rye lately. I like rye whiskey. I had Woodford rye over the weekend. That was good. I was just
fancy pants.
Yeah, I was bar hopping.
Why were you doing that?
It was my birthday.
Aw, happy birthday.
Thank you.
How old do you feel?
How old do I feel? 83.
Okay. You look fantastic.
Oh, thank you. A lot of people would come up to me and say, I look fantastic for 83, I would hope. But you get to thinking about it the older you get. I'm in my 40s, okay? Really, in 3 weeks, I'm going to be 60, Tracy. It's going to be that fast. Boom. And then once you're 60, it's really all over. I mean, it's really all over in your 40s. Fortunately for you, you're still in your 20s. So
yeah, right.
So it's your life is ahead of you. You still have that twinkle in your eye.
Yeah. Well, you may only be halfway, mister.
Yeah, I guess.
That sounds like it.
Well, I gave
a depressing possibility for you.
Yeah, well, I gave up my whole diet thing,
and
gained back most of my weight, and now I walk like Fred Sanford.
Okay.
In his current condition, like both Achilles tendons are the size of balloons. Like, why is this happening to me? Oh, you're 60 pounds overweight. Maybe that's what it is.
How much older do you have to be to qualify for a free rascal?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll have to look into that. Something that's really annoying in Indianapolis, I was this weekend I was downtown a lot, and it's been a while since I've been downtown. They've introduced this scooter system. And I know it's not just in Indianapolis. They're popping up all over the place where you get an app.
Yep.
And you just grab a scooter and you ride it down the street, and then you leave it for someone else to pick up, and then at the end of the night some company comes, picks them all up, charges them, and then puts them back out on the street the next day.
Did you not see the South Park about this?
No, I did not see the South Park about this.
Oh, South Park Halloween is about the scooters.
Really?
Yes.
Is it good?
It's funny as hell because the kids decide they're going to go trick or treat on him. And then it's going to create pandemonium in the town because the adults get wind of it. And they're like, oh, my God, we're going to have to give out so much candy. They estimate everybody's going to have to give out like 300 pounds of candy because people are going to come from all over on these damn things.
I have not watched any of the new South Parks yet.
Okay.
This season. So I know that I did see, I think it was on Vox, there was a celebration that apparently... there was an episode where, and again, I don't know if this is true. I'm only seeing this on lefty sites. That South Park basically apologized to Al Gore for the Man Bear Pig episode.
I haven't seen. It was a 2-parter. I've only seen the first part, and I wouldn't go so far as to say that was an apology.
Okay.
They brought him back because Man Bear Pig, the actual Man Bear Pig, was terrorizing people all over the place. So they had to go find him, and he had changed his name, and he was now like the state bowling champ. So I don't know if you can call that an apology. And then they had to summon Satan to help them defeat Man Bear Pig. So I don't know if that's an admission that they now all of a sudden believe in climate change or what, but I'm sure you can read into that anything you want to.
Of course. And then the other piece I saw was about... apparently it was an anti-capitalism episode of South Park where they went hard after Amazon.
I haven't seen that one either.
So apparently people are speculating on the left that, at one point you were hearing that they were libertarians, and now I guess they're hoping that Trey and... Matt and Trey are democratic socialists.
Of course. Because that show's not problematic. I mean, honestly, like if they came out and said all of a sudden that they were lefties now, that show would not get a pass.
That's true.
There's no way.
Well, I mean, look at what you're seeing, and The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
They're dropping Apu.
Oh, he's gone, right?
He's either gone or they've acknowledged that they are going to drop him. And as if the whole show isn't nothing but stereotypes.
Yeah, right.
The fat cop who eats donuts, the old man who is in the home that is wearing slippers and is confused, the housewife that runs everything, the husband's a dope.
Mm-hmm.
You go on and on and on. But
the closet case, yeah. That's a serious issue.
Right. I mean, can you imagine? I did see something a few weeks ago, someone complaining about Cartman and on social media. And it's like they don't get it. It's like Cartman is the least popular kid in the school next to Butters.
Mm-hmm.
They only tolerate his existence in the group. They're not making it out like Cartman is cool.
He's not?
I think he's funny as hell, but it's not like Cartman's the coolest kid in school.
It's just his mere existence, though, that bothers them.
Yes.
That character should not be real.
But that
and
character...
it's not real.
Well, of course, yeah, it's a cartoon character. But that cartoon character really is Trump's America.
Yes.
Tracy. So we got to eliminate that. Can't anybody just watch a fucking cartoon or listen to a song like Baby It's Cold Outside and not freak out?
No. What's the fun in that?
Yeah, they're pulling Baby It's Cold Outside off of radio stations.
Well, it's a bad song.
I'll grant you that. But it's harmless. They're like, oh no, it's date rapey. It's like, how's it date rapey? There's one line where she says, "What's in this drink?" And they turn it into, "Oh, he's making her a Cosby colada." It's clearly a date rape drink.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Meanwhile, they'll play rap music.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And not that I care about any of this. But how dare you?
Yeah. Well,
play a song. Isn't that song from the 50s?
Yeah, a married couple wrote it. the husband would sing it to the wife. They've turned it into this awful song that, I mean, they can't stand traditional male-female roles to begin with. Mm-hmm. And the idea that a man would be pursuing a woman in a way like that. Oh, come on, stay. Spend the night. It's cold outside.
No.
No. Oh, it's rapey. Wow. It's quite a leap. It's quite a leap.
You just don't know how to read between the lines.
That's true. The dog whistles throughout that song. The rape dog whistles. Is that a thing?
No, but we could probably sell them. I know you remember those fake academic papers, and one of them was about rape at the dog parks.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, if we could just invent a whistle that would make dogs stop raping.
Yeah. I think that should be we should create a remember back in the day when it would be really easy to create several Twitter accounts?
Yes.
We should create rape dog whistle.
Okay.
On Twitter, and then throw out anything that could be twisted into something that sounds rapey. You tweet out there with the rape dog whistle. I think isn't there a racism dog that barks on Twitter?
Maybe.
Just retweets going bark, ruff. Anything it finds racist. It's back when Twitter used to be fun.
Oh. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yep,
what do
you appear to be correct.
what racism dog? What's it?
Yeah. It's at racism dog. We trained our dogs to sniff out racism and bark when he finds it. So he's just growling at things and barking at stuff. Oh, man. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, what do you want to talk about this week, Tracy?
Well, I assume we need to comment on the passing of George H.W. Bush.
Okay, can I say something that probably is not very popular with the folks out there? Bill O'Reilly calls them the folks.
Please do.
I don't get the hero worship of presidents.
Mm.
And I don't get a wall-to-wall coverage of presidential funerals. I don't understand it. Do people watch this from beginning to end?
I don't know. Did you watch any of it?
No, didn't watch a minute.
Neither did I.
I did see a couple of clips, like I the clip of Senator Bob Dole, former Senator Bob Dole, them helping him up to be able to stand to salute the casket.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that clip, but I didn't watch the funeral. I see no need to watch cable news go back and forth between the funeral and then 4 talking heads talking about the funeral, and body language and facial expression experts analyzing President Trump and the other and the former president sitting there trying to figure out what people are thinking.
Oh, it's the mind-reading news.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that stuff could easily have been on InfoWars and be mocked.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been mocked if it were on InfoWars. But it's totes cool to have people trying to analyze facial expressions and body language on CNN. That's fine. They're a legitimate news source. Really?
Sure. And that's legitimate science.
Yeah, of course it is. Later on the network, we're going to bleed someone with leeches.
Now we're going to throw them into a pond to see if they're a witch.
So you didn't watch any of it?
No, I haven't even seen the clip you're talking about. I've heard it discussed.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. There's something that seems to me a little bit wrong about broadcasting funerals.
Yeah. Can you think of any public figure that you would stand in line for 3, 4, 5 hours just to pass by a casket and pay your respects?
No. I can't think of anybody that I don't know who I would do that for. I'm serious.
Yeah.
It seems a little bizarre. I mean, unless they had a direct impact on you.
Right. That I can understand. If you worked for him.
Yes. Or if you were a service member.
Yeah.
Something along those lines, but just strangers? No, I'm with you. These aren't royals.
Yeah. I don't understand it.
No, and half those people hated him anyway.
That's the other thing too. I mean, you saw this with the John McCain funeral as well. Okay, how can we tie this into a way to bash President Trump? And you saw a little bit of it with HW, the kinder, gentler nation, and I think it was a Washington Post White House correspondent, but I'm not positive. Said it's a stark contrast to Trump's Washington D.C. right now, as if this just started with Trump, the anger, the constant bickering, the mean-spiritedness that all started happening January 2017, Tracy.
Oh, clearly.
So, no, I don't know. There was one. There was so much that I saw on social media. I didn't watch it, but the comments. Oh, Trump. Someone said, and again, it was a media type. Trump was probably there analyzing this funeral, wondering what his funeral was going to be like.
That's probably correct.
You think?
I don't know. Don't you think that thought crosses everybody's mind when they attend one of those things? And he's looking around. He's like, oh, God, Obama will probably outlive me. So that jackass will be sitting in the front row at my funeral. Something like that. I mean, that would be my imagined Trump thought bubble. Like, let's see, who's going to be in the front row for mine?
Wow.
Like, I hope I outlive Hillary so she doesn't get a spot up front. Yeah, I wonder what happens if Bill passes first. Do they have the first ladies still sitting up front, the former first ladies?
Oh, that's a good question.
And is the seating chart for one of these things as complicated as you see in movies when people are trying to decide seating charts for weddings?
Oh, it is. There's probably negotiation that goes on. Ugh. Oh, I'm in the third row. Well, that's just not acceptable. You let them know I have to be in at least the second row. The fourth row? Oh, that's insane. Do you know who I am?
No, clearly we don't. You're a fourth rower. Keep this up, you're ending up in the teens. We'll be watching from outside.
Oh, my goodness. Well,
it's just there's something so tacky to me about covering it.
Yeah. Well, then I saw analysis, too, where people are saying, oh, Trump looked incredibly uncomfortable. You're supposed to feel all comfy, cozy at a funeral. Is there anything worse than being at a funeral? There aren't too many, other than some sort of medical procedure you're going through.
Right. Like, how are you supposed to look, I guess is the question.
Right.
Because if you look too pleased, then you're a jerk.
Yeah.
You can't sit there with a smile on your face. You don't look properly aggrieved. I don't understand. See, women can get away with wearing veils and stuff.
Right.
And that's what I'd do. Put on a little hat with a little veil.
Mm-hmm.
You basically go to sleep. If you do your eye makeup right, it looks like your eyes are open when they're closed. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, is I know when you're that successful of a person, that you've achieved being elected president of the United States, you're wired differently than most. I can't imagine sitting there for 2-3 hours without pulling out my smartphone.
Right.
Looking and seeing what's going on. You're like, oh, my gosh, what is this, 1950? I got to just stare straight ahead and not have a device in front of me.
Well, isn't it funny that the same people that will bitch that he's tweeting in the morning and has better things to do will be perfectly fine if he sits in the church for hours on end?
Yeah.
Like, no major events, nothing. It shows you how much free time a president has.
Right.
But I was thinking, hearing about all the different things, because, they had another funeral in Texas.
Yes.
So they fly the body to Washington, then they fly it back to Texas, then they stick it on a train. And he had to know all of this stuff, I would imagine. He was probably in on the planning of this.
Of course.
At some point. And you're like, my God, that's exhausting.
And then they had correct me if I'm wrong, I thought I saw a picture of, they had the casket on a rail car, and you could see through the car as it went by. It had glass there, and there was the casket. I'm almost positive I saw a picture of a Marine standing guard in the car as it's going down the tracks.
Okay. Huh.
I mean, okay, and again, I don't mean to sound callous. Look, he was a war hero. He was the president of the United States. How much money did this cost?
No, it's a good question. That's what I'm saying. We're carting this body all over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
on Air Force 3 or whatever the
the retired Air Force One.
Yeah. I mean, how much all this cost? I don't know. I'll be the dick. I'll ask the question.
Right. No, I mean, it's a little much.
I mean, would the nation really have suffered if we had a private funeral?
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe you have somewhere where people can pay their respects.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be the Capitol?
I don't know. I don't know if this is all written into law somewhere. It seems to be, right? This is the standard procedure.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just protocol.
Couldn't you have had the body line at the library?
No. That's not grandiose enough. Let's see if anybody wrote up how much this whole thing costs. Oh, it says only half a billion, excuse me. Good Lord.
Are you? No, you're making that number up.
Washington Examiner. Bush funeral will set taxpayers back over $500 million. So this is according to Alana Goodman. The late President George H.W. Bush's funeral service and related ceremonies will cost American taxpayers at least $500 million. Oh, in lost productivity and wages.
Oh.
But how much? I want to know what the bill is, though. Well, the taxpayers paid $423 million for federal workers to take the day off for former President Reagan's funeral in 2004. So this is all holiday pay stuff. Okay. So that's holiday pay and lost labor is the $450 million. Yeah, I don't know why they get a day off. It's not like they were going to the funeral.
So just to let you in on something, the border wall is projected to cost $21.6 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And Nancy Pelosi has stated on several occasions that we can't afford that.
Right.
But we just spent $500 million on a funeral.
Well, it's not for the funeral, though. That's just for the people that take the day off.
Well, they're getting paid.
Yeah. Right. But that's not even including the funeral costs. If I dig a little more into this, they're saying the flights for the 2-round trip between Houston and D.C., it's $200,000 an hour to fly that plane. So that's $2 million in travel expenses. The flyover was $126,000. And then that's where they stop counting. So it costs a pretty penny fingers.
I hear all that. And I mean, it to me, forget it. The moment's lost. It's gonna play a sound effect. It's just ching 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 ching.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a slap in the face of to the Bush family or anything like that. Again, he was a war hero. I don't get any of this. I don't care what president. I admired Ronald Reagan. I don't want this money spent on a funeral.
Right.
For anybody.
I don't know. Maybe that sounds heartless to some people, but it sounds fine to me.
And I don't get watching it either.
No.
I saw clips of the Reagan funeral, and, you see this, poor Nancy Reagan. Her heart's broken. She had this long, sad goodbye. Her husband had been deteriorating mentally and physically for years. And then it's finally over. And you see this woman, she's in her 80s, and it's just sad. Why would you want to sit back? Oh, geez, I'm taping it. Let me get the popcorn. I want to watch this. Feh. Who needs that? Some people just like to be swept up and stuff like that.
Or they like to feel like they're a part of it, I guess.
I guess. No. So anything else you want to touch on before we move on from the George H.W. Bush funeral?
No, well, the only thing I really remember about him is that time he threw up on the Japanese prime minister. And I didn't hear anybody mention that.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised AP didn't mention that in their tweet. Did you see the uproar over that?
No.
Oh, people were going crazy, and for good reason. AP tweeted, and I'm paraphrasing, something like, George H.W. Bush, former president of the 41st president of the United States, who, after having a weak economy and only served, and voters turned on him after having a weak economy, only served one term, passed away. And so everybody was going nuts over, okay, and with good reason.
Yeah.
The first tweet.
Classless.
Yeah. I'm sure the Ted Kennedy tweet.
Right. All you have to say, you don't need to have any commentary. You can just tell us President George H.W. Bush has passed away.
Right.
That's the news. Not that he was a one-termer due to stuff that you guys are making up. Like Ross Perot has hardly been mentioned at all.
Yeah.
And he took 19% of the vote.
Yes. And a lot of people would have voted for HW. And it's funny. Yeah. I got to thinking about it. Somebody brought it up for the last weekend, I think it was. And it's like, my first vote was in 1992. And I voted in the primary for Pat Buchanan over George H.W.
I was going to say, that would have been my guess.
Yeah. I ended up voting for Bush over Perot.
You couldn't do it?
I did not want Bill Clinton to be president of the United States. And I had hoped that, and Perot, I'm telling you, Perot would have won that election if he wouldn't have gone completely nuts and dropped out of the race and then got back in the race.
Yes, and I think if that race had been in the age of social media, he would have won.
Yeah. But it was just so ridiculous. Clinton had his DNC, they had the convention, and they got the typical spike after the convention, and Perot just was like, okay, well, I don't need to run now. I'm not running. It's clear that Clinton is going to win. Look at the polls. And then once that bump went back down, he's like, oh, you know what? I'm back in again. I'm like, oh, you're crazy.
Yeah, he was kind of nutty.
Oh, yeah. I'll never forget. I remember seeing a story. He at one point was on the board of General Motors. They bought out his company. And part of the I think it was EDS, if I remember right.
Okay.
And part of it was he had to sit on the board. They bought him out of the board because he said, listen, he's like, the first thing we need to do, we need to pick one thing on the car, okay? One thing. And we'll be the best at making that thing, like a headlamp light bulb. We'll be the best. We'll make the best headlamp light bulb in the automotive industry.
Not a transmission or
No, something small. And concentrate on that being the best. And if we're the best at building a headlamp light bulb, then you expand until you have the highest quality car on the market. And they're like, oh, here's $200 million. Will you go away, please?
God, I wish someone would give me $200 million for being annoying. I'm certain that I deserve it.
Right. I'm just making up a number, but it was like that. That's about how it went down. But if he would have stayed in, he would have been president of the United States. We wouldn't have had we may have had a Bill Clinton run in 96. You know, some of these people, and you know damn well the Clintons, they still can't let it go. They cannot stay out of the spotlight.
No, even though their tour is failing.
I saw someone, I don't know if it's real. They had a picture, a screenshot of a Groupon. Did you see this of the event? See Bill and Hillary. It should be $70, but you could see him for $19.99 through Groupon.
Well, they were. I think the first show I want to say was in Toronto, maybe. Yeah, is that where it was? Hang on, because I had this article from a couple weeks ago for us to discuss if we got to it. And yeah, that was the first one. And it was at the place where the Maple Leafs play. Okay. And the tickets were going for $6.55.
Oh, my gosh.
In the final minutes before the event. And it still didn't even get close to selling. I mean, the video is pathetic. And I was thinking, wow, they said for a hockey game, that stadium or the arena holds 19,000 people, but the setup's a little bit different. Because I was thinking, oh, well, it should be more people because they can sit on the floor. But, you know, they have a stage at one end, so they don't want to sell the tickets behind the stage.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the capacity is, but there was empty seats all over the damn place.
Yeah.
The floor.
And it looks like that wasn't a gag. This is from Breitbart. Bill and Hillary Clinton using Groupon to boost sagging ticket sales.
Yeah. I can't believe they didn't see this coming. They should have been in much smaller venues. Like, you'd rather sell out small venues than be in large ones and just get hammered for it. Yeah, they only sold 3,300 seats for that Toronto show.
Ticket prices sank so low in some areas of the country, they plummeted to as low as $7.
You'd think they would just buy them and give them to people.
Yeah.
And bus them in. Like, you know, that's how they boost their book sales, right?
Yeah. To save face, the Clintons decided to offer tickets for the next stop on an evening with the Clintons tour on Groupon at a 60% discount.
Just give them away.
Although seats for the tour are still available on the official site for as much as $325, Groupon is offering tickets for the event in Los Angeles as low as $35. And that's at the Forum.
Oh, God. They should have been in small theaters.
What are they thinking? Well, during the campaign, and you didn't want to use this anecdotal evidence, you know, oh, look at the crowds for Trump. You know, he's clearly outdrawing her. But there were events where she had a hard time filling up a gym.
High school gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think you're going to sell at the Forum in Los Angeles?
No, you're out of your mind. No, and you know, her coughing is back.
Yeah, I saw that. But think about that for a minute. You're going to go see Hillary Clinton during a presidential campaign. You don't have to pay a nickel to get into a high school gym to see a major presidential candidate running for president, which most major presidential candidates do.
Yes.
But you could walk in, you have to deal with the security, but it's free. And you can't fill a high school gym.
And yet you think you can sell out the Forum.
Wow.
No, it's pretty sad. And I guess they can't cancel the tour. That would just be...
Oh. You talk about humiliating.
Right. Well, you could say she's very sick.
Yeah, well, you
can't
can't
go
do that
on.
either. Can't do
I
that
know.
either. He has to
It
be
totally
sick.
fucks it. Yes.
And I'm sure he'd be like, oh, hey, I'm not taking a bullet for you.
No.
Nobody wants to see him anymore. And he was the draw out of the two.
Mm-hmm.
I will give the guy credit. He can give a good speech. If you're into seeing a politician give a speech, Bill Clinton gives a good speech. Her? She's terrible. Awful.
Are they coming to Indianapolis?
No. I don't think that they would subject themselves to having to be in Indianapolis with the folks.
Well, this thing goes on all through the spring, you know.
Do we have a list of places where they're stopping?
Yeah, I just pulled it up.
Okay, where is the Clinton tour?
Well, it's on
We're going to
break
go.
now, it looks like.
Uh-huh.
And then it picks up again in April in New York,
Uh-huh.
at the Beacon Theater,
Okay.
which I have no idea how big that is. Detroit, at the Fox Theater.
Okay.
Then it goes to
That's
Philly.
a decent sized theater, but they're theaters. They're not arenas.
Right.
Okay.
No, it looks like their next arena is in BC, Vancouver.
Okay.
It's like, why do they think they're going to draw these big audiences in Canada? Yeah, so they go Philly, Wallingford, Connecticut, Washington, D.C., Boston, Vancouver, Seattle, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So they still got time to sell out the Forum. That's not until May.
No, nothing in Trump country though.
No, imagine that.
See, and again, this is the problem, and it's going to continue to be a problem for Democrats. There's no willingness to even try to engage Middle America.
No, that's why they love Beto so much, though.
Yeah,
He can do that. He can.
See, and even that's an anomaly. Because to me, part of the reason why he was so successful in Texas is because Ted Cruz is not likable. I don't think that election is close if you run just a normal Republican who doesn't look like he sucks blood from babies to sustain himself. I met Ted Cruz a couple of times, interviewed him once, and I think I've told you the story. Listen, couldn't have been nicer to me, but he's creepy.
Yeah.
We were in this hall, and I only had my blue snowball mic on me. I didn't think I was going to be interviewing anyone, and someone said, "Hey, Ted Cruz is here. Do you want to talk to him?" Oh, okay. So for folks that aren't familiar with a blue snowball mic, you put it in the middle of the two of you, and you share this microphone. It's not the best for recording in a big room with a lot of people, but it's fine for a podcast or if you're by yourself. So I said, Senator, I apologize. I was just tearing down. This is the only mic I have available. Do you mind sitting across from me, and we just kind of have to focus on speaking into the mic? He said, sure, no problem. So our faces are 18 inches apart.
Oh.
And at one point, I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I swear to you, I thought he was going to say to me, "Fingers, you want to see a dead body? We can go poke it with a stick." And again, I'm being a dick. Couldn't have been nicer. But there's just a creepy factor with Ted Cruz.
It's nothing he can help. It's just the way he looks.
Right. And the way he speaks. And I was with Tony Katz. We went to the Iowa caucuses, and we were at a Ted Cruz event. And Glenn Beck was speaking, and we can get into Glenn Beck a little bit, too, for what's going on over at the Blaze and their merger with CRTV. But was at this campaign event for Ted Cruz, and they had one of the old guy, the Phil Duck Dynasty guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like an old time revival, and he was up there on stage, and he said, the way Washington D.C. has embraced the homosexual lifestyle, and I'm paraphrasing here, it's going to lead them to hell, or they're all going to go to hell. And I'm looking around, and people in the crowd are nodding their heads in approval of this. And I said, "Oh, this is look, I okay. I don't know if this is the message that you want going across the country if you want to win the election."
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Beto would have done just as well against a mainstream, likable guy who happens to be a Republican. I don't know. Ted Cruz to me has always been kind of creepy.
I agree. I would not have done that interview with him alone, I don't think.
Well, you think he'd get grabby with you?
No. The creepy factor.
Yeah. And again,
I can kind of see him driving a Beetle, missing the front seat.
And again, I feel bad because he couldn't have been nicer to me. But it's creepy.
It's just the way he looks.
I'm fully aware that he took a huge leap by sitting down and talking to someone named Fingers Malloy.
Yes.
He probably could have said a lot of unkind things about me with my
Maybe
mohawk.
he has over the years.
Yeah, probably. All right.
Your big talk in the Senate dining room.
It's probably true.
Yes.
So what do you want to talk about this Gavin McInnes thing?
Sure.
Look, Gavin has been really nice to us over the years. We haven't talked to him in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But when let's see, where did he first get in trouble when we talked to him? And it was hilarious. We talked to him, and he was riding his bike home from work. You remember that?
Yes, that was one of our earlier episodes.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we have to note that this marks episode 100.
That's true.
So Gavin was on in the, I believe, the single digit days.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, we had him on the Snark Factor, right? And then
yes.
And then when we launched this show, he came on again. But what was he in trouble? Back then, he was in trouble for something.
Well, he's been constantly in trouble for things.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember though. Was it something he got booted out of Fox or something, or banned from Fox News, or wasn't it?
He was suspended for Fox News for a while for, I believe it was making a joke about visiting the gynecologist to a makeup artist. He made a comment about cold instruments or something, how much it bothered him.
But I think you and I are both in agreement that we absolutely love Gavin McInnes.
Oh, I think he's wonderful, and I think he's a huge asset.
So he was on the Compound Media Network for a while. It's Anthony Cumia's network.
Yeah, yes. First, he started with his own podcast that he was doing. I can't remember what studio he was using. It's one that a bunch of comedians, I think, had done podcasts out of. So he had one short-lived that was called Free Speech.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all up on YouTube. And then he moved to Compound with Anthony.
Right.
And was there for quite a while.
And then
a year and a half.
Yeah. And then and it was a wild show.
Oh, it was great.
The Compound Media. He'd have there's a libertarian porn star.
Mercedes Carrera, I believe is her name.
Yes.
And she's quite bright.
Oh, yeah.
Like insanely well versed in politics and history and economics, and
she's a great follow on Twitter for that. But you just have to be careful because in between tweets, about government and things like that, there'll be a naked photo, and you're like, oh. This isn't work safe.
Mm.
So, but anyway, so the show was great, and Joe Rogan had on Anthony Cumia on his podcast this week.
Well, you're jumping ahead because you didn't fill in the part where Gavin left.
Okay, well, I was going to get into the Proud Boys.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so he was talking about how the Proud Boys started at Compound Media, and I, it used to be funny, listening to Gavin talk about the Proud Boys, and you were much more of a Gavin fan than I am. But he would. What was when a caller would call in? Mm-hmm. They would have to say something, and then he would play the clip of someone saying "Proud of your boy."
Yeah, it's from the Aladdin.
Okay.
The stage version of Aladdin, the musical version. There's some song "Proud of Your Boy," and he had seen it. I think at his kid's school they performed it, and he was just like, "Oh my God, this is so pathetic." And then it became, then he championed it because he loves that stuff. And he had joined the Knights of Columbus, which is, I guess, that's a men's only club. Is that right, Fingers?
Listen, I know I'm old.
Well, this is why I expect you to know these things.
I'm not familiar with the Knights of Columbus or the Freemasons and what their membership requirements are. But that would not surprise me if the Knights of Columbus is a men's only club.
I believe it is. Let me see. It says it's the world's largest Catholic fraternal service organization.
Okay.
So that doesn't tell me if it's men's only. But he had joined that and really enjoyed the camaraderie of going and drinking with a bunch of men and whatever. Mm-hmm. And he thought that there needed to be more of those kind of things, especially for the younger generation, who seems to be becoming wussified.
Yes.
To put it nicely.
The pussification of America.
Yes. Yeah.
Continue.
And this is coming off of, I don't know if you ever saw the film that he wrote and starred in called How to Be a Man.
Oh, I have not.
It's actually quite good. I don't know if you can find it anymore. It used to be on Netflix.
Oh, I'm sure that they scrubbed that.
Probably, but I'm sure it can be found on the internets. But it was... the premise is he finds out that he's dying and his wife is pregnant. So he's making a series of videos for the child that he assumes is going to be a son that will be born after he dies about how to be a man. So he teaches him how to fight and like all these other things. So it's with that kind of mentality that they jokingly start talking about having this group and then they need a name. And he decided that a lot of the serious street gangs always had these kind of wussy names. So the Proud Boys was perfect. So that's what they named it. And in order to get in, you had to be jumped in. And that involved getting punched until you could name 5 breakfast cereals.
Why not?
Yeah. And then he just also decided that they should all wear these Fred Perry collared shirts that were black with gold and white piping around the collar and the sleeves. So they would kind of have a uniform. And listening to other people like Jim Goad, who I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, he's just as controversial as Gavin is. And they're quite good friends. And Goad kept saying to him, Gavin, you're kind of setting this up as like a street gang. You understand this? Like now you've given them a uniform and you have these initiation rites and all this kind of stuff. Like, you better watch your ass. And he didn't take him seriously on that. And, they went out of their way, Gavin did, to make it be like, look, we are just, what do they call themselves? I'm trying to think of what the word is because he was trying to be clever about it. But they were Western chauvinists.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was it. That's the only thing you had to do. Was be a Western chauvinist and be a man.
And it sounded like something that he put together, when we'll have events, and all the event really was we'll pick a bar, and a bunch of them would get together and have drinks.
Yes, and the chapter started popping up all over.
Now, here's the question I have for you, because you're, like I said, you're much more of a fan of his than I am. I mean, I think that he's great. He's funny. He's good for the movement. But I don't I haven't watched his career as closely as you have.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have talked about this in the past, how the media loves to spin the narrative that the alt-right is everywhere and it's taking over, and it's part of the dark net, and it's there's an event in Washington D.C. and my God, 400 people showed up. Don't mention that 300 of them are media. That's a whole other thing. But, oh my God! So the narrative is that the Proud Boys have been taken over by Nazis and the alt-right. Is any
Well, I
of
don't even know
true?
if it was taken over by that. That was just always, that's what it actually is. Like, pay no attention to the fact that there are a whole bunch of black members and Asian members, and they have gay members and all this kind of stuff. No, it's a white supremacist group that's a bunch of Nazis. And they would go out and get in street brawls with Antifa.
Yes.
And that kind of raised their profile. I mean, I remember the one punch that went viral. I don't know if you've seen the Portland punch.
It's funnier than hell, where the Antifa guy shows up with a club.
Well, it's not even a club.
It's
like one of those extendable batons.
Yeah.
And he had to weigh, 130 pounds.
Yeah.
And he's just got the whole black outfit on. He's got his face covered. And their whole deal, and this was always Gavin saying, is you don't punch first. You can punch back.
Right.
You don't start a fight, you end a fight.
Oh, and this guy ended the fight.
Oh, yeah. So that guy's name, he goes by Rufio, which is, I believe, from the movie Hook.
Oh, we know his name?
Well, that's his nickname, Rufio.
No, we know his nickname. I mean.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Portland has been a hotbed for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I do think, it's kind of provoked a little bit. There's a group called Patriot Prayer that's from southern Washington State, which is 20 minutes from downtown Portland. And they would continuously hold these free speech events in the city. And every time they would do that, of course, the Antifa come out. So this little Antifa guy with his magic wand takes a swing at Rufio, hits him in the arm. And Rufio just hit him with the right. And the kid went down. He was knocked out before he hit the ground.
Yeah.
It was amazing, but
what's amazing too, I found a piece at the Daily Beast, and we're bringing Gavin up because, we should probably finish where we start. So he was at Compound Media.
Yes,
the Proud Boys is born at Compound Media on Gavin's show, and it turns into this huge kind of thing. Like you said, there are chapters all over the world, not just the country.
Yeah, and one of the ways up the ranks is like you get a tattoo, then you move further up. So there are guys running around with Proud Boy tattoos.
So then I'm guessing he left on good terms.
Yeah, he was offered a big contract, according to him. Like he's never one to be shy about talking about how much money he has.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, he started Vice Media, or what became Vice Media. It was Vice magazine first. Mm-hmm. And the story of that is hilarious, and he tells it in his autobiography, which the original title was How to Piss in Public, and then they retitled it, I assume to tame it down a little bit, but it's called like The Death of Cool or something. Mm-hmm. So Vice was originally basically Montreal's city paper, those free papers that every major city has, and one of his buddies got offered the job of editing it and came to Gavin and said, do you want to help me do this? And at first he turned him down and then went back and said, yes, I would like to help you do that. And then he was told, oh, I can't hire you unless you're on welfare, because that's the way it works. Since it's a city-owned paper, I have to get people off the dole into work. So Gavin went to the office where you apply to be on welfare and pretended to be a special needs person. Was given the highest level of benefits you could achieve, and then subsequently took the job there. And they ended up building that paper up. He wrote a lot of the content for it, and he would write under a bunch of different names to make it look like they had a huge staff, and it really was just a couple of them. And then they built that up and took it private and sold it. And he eventually left. I think in 2008 he left, but with a big payout, and then kind of went and did his own thing, got fired. He started another company called Rooster, where it was an ad an ad agency that also did its own production work. And he sold that, but then stayed on and then got fired from that after he wrote a piece that I think it ran on Thought Catalog. And the title was something like, "It's okay to be transphobic."
Yeah.
And that got him in a ton of trouble.
I'm sure.
And I think they benched him at Fox for that for a little while. But so then he ends up at Compound, and then he says that CRTV came to him and offered him so much money that he couldn't refuse.
Okay, so then he's over at CRTV, and the reason why we're bringing all this up is it was announced that the Blaze, Glenn Beck's outfit, which we were wondering what was going to happen with it. I mean, it was really big a few years ago and had a lot of talent over there, and reports were that it had been bleeding cash for a long time, and there were major cutbacks not too long ago, and there was talk at one point that maybe there would be a merger with Ben Shapiro, the whole Daily Wire thing, but they announced last week, or maybe it was earlier this week.
I think it was early this week, yes.
That CRTV and the Blaze were going to merge.
And when I saw that, I thought, this is such a stupid idea. Because they went with two totally different business models, right? And you and I watched the Blaze for years and said that they are way overspending for this.
Oh.
They should have built this slowly. And that's what CRTV did.
Yeah, that's exactly what CRTV. It was built in a responsible way. I mean, I went down. I've been to the Blaze Studios 2 or 3 times. I went one time. They did this simulcast in movie theaters around the country for School Choice, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
And Michelle Malkin was there, and she's part of the story too that we're talking about now. We're in this huge studio, and they have a camera on a crane 30 feet in the air.
Yeah.
And you know this stuff. I don't. But I looked at that and thought, what kind of coin are they spending here? Is this necessary?
Yep.
And you're right. CRTV, it looks fine. It looks professional. But you look at that studio and you think, oh, okay, there's not a lot of money invested here compared to what could be invested or what the Blaze is invested in their studio.
But I mean, like, look at Rogan.
Yeah.
He's got probably the most popular podcast. The video that comes out of it is pretty decent. And some of those, at the one with Elon Musk, it's like 14 or 15 million views. That's just done in one room, and they have a TriCaster and 3 cameras.
Yeah.
You can start with that and build.
Right.
Instead of, no, let's buy, 100,000 square feet of studio space?
Yeah.
Drop in a bunch of, those are called Jimmy Jibs.
Oh.
The Johnny Jibby Jib.
Not to be confused with Jib Jab?
Yes, correct. No, those big cranes, all the camera. I mean, watching those shows made me ill.
Yeah.
Because they had to make use of every single piece of equipment they had in the damn studio. So you'd have back at like 15 different angles and just...
They had a show, I think it was called Real News, and S.C. Cupp was on it, and Jedediah Bila, and it would be in New York, and they would do these cuts. It was like something out of a Batman from 1969. The camera would be spinning, and there'd be all these weird angles. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, you don't need that at all. No, and I remember he built the whole Oval Office for himself.
Yeah. So the Blaze and the CRTV merge somehow, and I don't know who runs what or what's going on.
Well, if you read anything, it says like Levin runs CRTV.
Okay.
Which I don't know if that's true. Malkin was there before Levin was, I believe. I thought she went to Conservative Review as a writer.
Yeah.
Because it started as just Conservative Review, the website.
Right.
And then I think they brought Levin on as an editor, and then they gave him Levin TV.
Yes.
And for years, Levin hated Beck.
Yeah.
I mean, would trash talk him like crazy on his show and wouldn't even use his name. Like, that's how much he despised him. Well, he never used O'Reilly's name either. He would call him the 8 p.m.er, and I can't remember what he would call Beck. But to me, it doesn't make any sense. If CRTV is doing well, why they would do this?
I thought I saw something that the Blaze's distribution was better.
That could be true, but at this point, is it really that big of a boon to get on to cable?
I wouldn't think.
I wouldn't think so either.
I mean,
great. You're on DirecTV and Roku. If the CRTV could get on Roku, they probably already are.
All you need is the app. Get an app. I mean, for crying out loud, I don't know about you, but I got 2 younger kids. I know you don't have kids, but what I mean is, I don't know about you, but from what I'm seeing from people that are, say, 30 years old and younger, people aren't watching TV. It's all on the computer. It's all on the phone.
Right.
You're not running out and I got to get a big screen TV, and then I got to get a satellite dish so I can get, I can get DirecTV or this isn't 1999 anymore. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm-mm. No, I think it's a bad business move, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I just don't know why you would, and I feel guilty about this too, because Glenn Beck's always, I mean, he probably wouldn't even remember who I am anymore, but there was a time where, he was on our show and was down there a couple times, was on the show once. It couldn't have been nicer. But
no, I've met him. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, but everything he's touching lately turns to shit. Why would you want to saddle up to that?
No, he's completely erratic.
Yeah. So they do this merger, and it's not even a week old, and they've dumped Gavin McInnes.
Well, the first shoe to drop was Malkin left.
Yes.
And she had done really well with her. She had an investigative journalism show, kind of like a 60 Minutes type thing. And I believe she won or I don't know if she won, but she was in a major film festival with one of the docs that she did. Like a hoity-toity New York liberal film festival.
Wow.
And so I can't imagine that she wanted to give that up. There's got to be something else going on.
I wonder. This is one of those times where I wonder. She's been really good at getting somewhere on the ground floor and then selling it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't remember if she actually had ownership at one point at Conservative Review, if she helped start it. She launched Twitchy.
Yeah.
And sold that off.
Well, before that, too, she had, was Hot Air hers?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was the first one.
I wonder if there's a nice little payday for her to leave.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, like you said, I don't know if she had any ownership stake in it.
God, I'd love to know that. I don't know why. I'm not usually one to count other people's money, but...
No, she's brilliant.
Yes.
And she's not one to eschew people who are labeled, hateful or whatever by the media.
Right.
She typically sees through that bullshit.
And I know at one point she had a decent relationship with Beck because she was at that school choice event on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but I know things can change rather quickly, but there has to be some consolidation, though, because you have people on the Blaze doing shows. So if they're really concerned with having some sort of regular cable lineup.
Right. Well, her show wasn't weekly, I don't believe. So, and I did find this article, Michelle Malkin and CRTV invade New York Film Festival and score major award. Huh. Yeah. So her show from CRTV was one of 3 winners at Manhattan Film Festival's Film Heels Award. And so she says in this article that it's the most satisfying work I've done in journalism in 25 years. And that's in regards to the series that she had on CRTV.
Wow. Well, that's a shame. But maybe it was time. Maybe you always take that show and go somewhere else. Maybe she'll land on Fox or something on the weekend.
She could, or she just goes on her own. I mean, anymore, you don't need a platform.
And especially when you've built up that kind of name recognition that Michelle has.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think at one point wasn't she doing Fox Hits, and it looked like she had some sort of remote studio. She was doing it. I mean, why not just turn that studio into something where you're doing a show there?
Sure. And like you said, you don't really need a big fancy studio. But with this, I mean, she had a pretty big crew on this show.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing that is worrisome about going on your own, and you've seen this with people like Crowder, Crowder is part of CRTV.
Yes.
But his show is also on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And when your business model relies on somewhere like YouTube,
yeah, and they can pull the plug whenever they want
overnight, and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? I mean, people say, well, people like that have a website, but it's so much different than YouTube.
Yes.
Okay, great. You can stream it on your website. Well, people aren't going to your website every day. People are going to YouTube every day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to open up YouTube and you frequently watch the Crowder show on YouTube, it's going to pop up on your homepage there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to watch it, or of course, if you subscribe, you'll get notifications. Oh, a new Crowder show. But if you're getting on YouTube or you're getting on the site, people aren't going to go there as much. So that's what's dangerous about focusing your business model on a platform like YouTube. So it's all very interesting. It'll be fun to see what she does next.
Mm-hmm.
But so Gavin's out at the Blaze CRTV.
Yeah, and this all comes on the heels of, it was reported a couple weeks ago that the Oregon FBI had labeled the Proud Boys an extremist group.
Yes.
But then this week it comes out that, oh, no. So I'm reading from The Hill. The FBI does not consider the Proud Boys an extremist group, an agent says. So Special Agent in Charge Ren Cannon said this week that there was a misrepresentation. Imagine that, fingers. During a slideshow presentation hosted for officials at the Clark County Sheriff's Office in Vancouver, Washington. So FBI agents had briefed law enforcement in Clark County about the Proud Boys, a far-right group which labels itself as a pro-Western fraternal organization for men who refuse to apologize for creating the modern world, a.k.a. Western chauvinists. So they mischaracterize them in this slideshow. This gets out to the press, and that's the end of it. So he came out, this is Gavin, and publicly disassociated himself from the Proud Boys in the wake of this. And this had to be a couple weeks ago, if not a month ago. And now he's out over at the Blaze TV. And to be fair, we don't know if he left or if they said get out. But I am interested to see if he'll go back to Compound. And you were talking about Anthony this week.
Well, Anthony on the Joe Rogan show was talking about how, he didn't want to be associated his name with the Proud Boys if the Proud Boys had been taken over by Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
And so, no, you're right about Gavin. You don't know if he left. Maybe, I thought I saw an ad for the merger where they were like scrolling through names really fast and his name was on it.
Oh, yeah. He was in a photo that I saw, too.
So maybe they said, listen, Gavin, we're happy that you're here, but you're going to have to tone things down a little bit.
Well, he had already toned down significantly when he went to CRTV. There was no more swearing on the show. Obviously, no more porn stars.
Yeah. But maybe even that was too edgy.
Potentially. I mean, Crowder's about as edgy as they want to go, I guess.
Yeah. So maybe he said that, yeah, you know what, this doesn't feel comfortable. It's not for me. And maybe he cut ties. Who knows? But this sounds more like, it's not fair to speculate, but why the hell not? Oh my gosh. He's a loose cannon who may turn off advertisers.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have that on our new Blaze CRTV network.
Well, the interesting thing is that Owen Benjamin, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him or not. I think I've sent you some of his stuff. He's a comedian. And he's been thrown off of everything as well, social media wise, except for Instagram, I believe.
Okay.
And he got in trouble for speaking up about the transgender kids kind of thing that the left has been pushing. Like, we should start putting children on hormones.
Yeah.
And so he got into a big Twitter fight with some lefty writer, I believe. I want to say it was San Francisco Chronicle or LA Times or something like that, who was talking openly about putting his young child on hormones. And Owen just lost his shit on this guy because he's got young kids, and he's just like, this is child abuse. This is gross. This is a step too far for us. We can't do this. And so because of that, he lost. I don't know if he lost his Twitter at that point, but at that point, he did lose his management, his representation, all of that. So he's kind of had to build up his own thing. And he's doing comedy gigs all over the place. But he writes for Crowder's show and is a frequent guest on there.
Oh.
So I don't see how you can welcome Crowder and Owen Benjamin, who to the left's mind is just as awful as Gavin. I mean, Owen's got his own group. They're called the Bears or something like this, the Unbearables or whatever. So he's got a whole little crew, kind of like the Proud Boys.
Yeah, but Crowder looks squeaky clean.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the undercut, haircut, and tattoos. So,
no,
that looks
That's
dangerous.
You're right. But and I did see Anthony on Michael Malice's podcast, and Malice also has a podcast on Compound Media as well. But he has another one on Gas Digital, and he had Anthony on because Anthony's got a new book out, and they discussed Gavin because they're both friendly with him. And he asked him, and this is before this announcement, he asked Anthony if he would have Gavin back on Compound, and Anthony said yes.
Well,
so
I hope that's what happens. But again, maybe Gavin got a nice little payout, and he'll sit.
But he's not a sit still kind of guy. He likes working. He likes getting out of the house.
Yeah, no. When I meant sit, I mean maybe 2 or 3 months and try to figure out his next move.
Maybe. I mean, the best move I can think financially at least, and would be good for Compound too, is have him on Monday.
Yeah,
have him back
right away. But then they have to. I don't know what their current lineup is.
They have a big lineup. They have his spot is now taken over, I believe, by Bill Schultz and Joanne Nosachinski. Both former Red Eye people. They do a morning show now on Compound.
I thought it wasn't his show. Well, I shouldn't be questioning you. I thought that his show was on early afternoon.
No, he was on 10:30 to sometimes noon, sometimes past that.
Oh, I can't see them taking Bill Schultz off the air.
No, they can move stuff around potentially. Yeah. So, and I think Malice I think he's the latest, and he's on at 11 o'clock every night. He's got a show called Nightshade.
Well, that'll be fun to watch.
Well, the most irritating thing is Gavin's off all social media, so he can't make any comments. Because, you immediately want to go and say, oh, okay, what's he saying on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram? And no. And Anthony's been pretty much removed from all of those platforms, although he admitted on Rogan he does have a Twitter account. He just uses it to read news and stuff and doesn't really get into the mix anymore.
And that's only really the real reason to be on Twitter, as far as I'm concerned. I really love being on Twitter just for breaking news. Mm-hmm. Certainly isn't to interact with anyone.
No, why would you want to do that?
Well, I mean, it's garbage. The interaction that you have with people, it's terrible. Mm-hmm. You try to promote your stuff on social media, and at this point, most people don't want to have anything to do with. It's like, oh, if you're a podcaster on Twitter and you have friends, it's almost like essential oils. Oh, God, my podcaster friend is tweeting out his podcast, and he wants us to tweet it out as well. May as well be trying to try to sell him tea tree oil, So, I mean, it's still effective in a way to share what you're doing out there, but, just trying to talk about anything anymore on social media, it's a time suck and a disaster. And people are angry about everything. They want to be outraged over everything. I mean, the fact that we have people who are aggressively trying to get Baby It's Cold Outside off of radio playlists just tells you everything you need to know about society today.
Mm-hmm.
And Twitter's a cesspool when it comes to that. So, but for, breaking news and stuff, I could totally see if I get out of radio, I would delete my Twitter account completely, and then I would have one little Twitter account where I could just watch news, see what's breaking. Other than that, it's not fun anymore. Instagram is what Twitter used to be back in 2010. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But Twitter, it's angry. You're not on Facebook anymore at all.
No, I try to avoid it.
Because it's a time suck, right?
Well, it's just a cesspool.
You think Facebook's worse than Twitter?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Well, I guess the difference being that on Facebook I know everybody.
Right.
And then on Twitter it's it's some people that I know, but the majority of them I don't. And it's news versus gossip. I guess this is how I would divide the two.
Yeah.
And I don't get into, I used to get into Twitter arguments with strangers, but I don't do that. And Facebook, it's just too tempting to get into arguments with people that I actually know.
And want to still like.
Yes. That's why I avoid it. Because I'd like to still like them, and I don't need to know that I probably shouldn't.
Yeah. Facebook, in a lot of ways, is just one never-ending Thanksgiving meal with
Yes.
family. That's what it is. Who needs that?
Nobody. And you don't even get the good food.
Right.
You just get pictures of people's food.
Yeah.
And that always bothered me. Well, that's one of the things that keeps me away too. It's so much of this showing off or attempting to frame people attempting to frame their lives in ways that aren't true, and it just seems so sad.
You know the other thing that bothers me about Facebook?
And
I noticed this after President Bush died. People feeling the need to release some sort of statement on their wall like they are some sort of political figure.
Well, it happens with everything, right? Anytime that there's any major event, right? Or if it's some shooting or the passing of somebody or whatever, and everybody wants to add their 2 cents and make themselves a part of it.
And I know it's ballsy to complain about that because who the hell are we to have a show that we throw out there with our opinions? But it just cracks me up when I'll see some sort of in-depth statement. I saw it on Facebook. I remember my first memories of George H.W. Bush go way back to 1984 when I was a young and I'm like, what is this necessary?
Yeah, but then people get into responding to it. It's like, oh my God, shouldn't you guys be working?
Right? I mean, the most recently, the person that died, which kind of hit me like a little bit of a punch I got, was when Prince died. And I remember going to Facebook and going, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, Prince is dead. This sucks. Boom. Not, let me tell you, my first recollection of Prince goes way back to 1981 in Little Red Corvette. America was a different place back then. What? Shut up.
Aw.
We're an hour and 24 minutes in, Tracy.
Whew.
Anything else?
I did want to talk about Al Sharpton's latest scam, which I think is genius.
Talk about a walking, talking, breathing essential oils Facebook Messenger person. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, It's always something.
It is. So the New York Post had a story on December the 1st with the headline, Al Sharpton sells his life story rights for $531,000 to his own charity.
Okay.
This guy is such a genius.
Yeah.
Right? So he sold the National Action Network. They agreed to pay him $531,000. How you arrive at that figure is very interesting to me. Not just a flat 5, not 550, 531.
Well, apparently they got that number because the Reverend Jesse Jackson got $530,000 for his life story. So
from the Rainbow Coalition.
yes, so you
Rainbow
got
Push, right?
Yeah.
But this is only they're leasing it for 10 years. So they can do whatever they want with it. They can benefit from it. Is his argument for this.
So is this like the Seinfeld episode where Peterman bought all of Kramer's stories?
Yes.
But Peterman actually bought them. He didn't lease them.
Wow.
This is unreal.
So they're saying that this is in addition to what he pulled down, as the New York Post puts it, in compensation. Yeah. His compensation for 2017, $244,661. That's what he gets paid a year. Which is actually, I've looked at some other 501c3s paperwork, and that's actually not that much in comparison to what some other people make for their charity work.
We're in the wrong business. Why didn't we start a charity?
Wait, there's still time.
No, I just had a birthday. I'm really close to being 70 at this point. And at that point, what does it matter? Although, Bernie Sanders is, 87, and he's working on his 5th beach house. So
I think I was reading about him. I think he's 77.
Wow.
Yes. So anyway, so Sharpton's whole rationale is that he's in talks for there to be a play made about his life.
Oh, Al Sharpton the musical on Broadway would be fantastic.
No, a play, Fingers. A play.
I want it to be a musical.
Okay. And there's some talk about docs. Those are big money makers, documentaries. And so that's from the article from the 1st. So they had a follow-up article in the Post on the 8th. Headline, Al Sharpton's docs likely won't make nonprofit a ton of money.
Oh, really?
No. So this is Melissa Klein and Georgette Roberts. I like it when more than one person has to write an article. I don't understand how that works.
Right.
Like when you see bylines on New York Times pieces and it's like 6 people.
Yeah. Do
you think they each wrote a little bit? I mean,
I must be milking someone else's source, and you give
that
person credit.
Maybe. Or someone does the research, the other one writes it up.
I mean, it's one thing if it's like a 6,000 word piece.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it'd be like, oh, okay, there are only 800 words here. Why were there 5 people involved in this?
Right. So they say the Rev. Al Sharpton claims documentary film deals could pour 7 figures of profit into his charity. But industry experts say that appears to be a fiction. So, So Sharpton had told the Post he had contracts for 2 documentaries and another film deal in the works, but he refused to release any details or say if he had received any cash. So I love this. This guy's full of baloney, says a documentarian who spoke to the Post, saying a documentarian who has any scruples would not pay someone for their story. Then it wouldn't be an honest story. Oh, imagine that. And so Sharpton claims that he has this footage of him with Michael Jackson, which is obviously priceless.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a steal for them to pay only $531,000 to borrow it for 10 years.
Oh, that's what people are clamoring for.
Right. Don't you want to see it?
Oh, I hope it's
the 2 of them at Neverland Ranch riding the rides.
I hope it's Fat Al in the jumpsuit.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Fat Al in the jumpsuit playing with, what was the monkey's name? Was Bubbles?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Playing with Bubbles, eating cotton candy.
Okay, I freely admit now I'd watch that movie.
Okay. So this documentarian points out that like you just license footage and it's not that expensive. He said, big ticket footage would be something like the video of Lady Di's tunnel accident.
Yeah.
Somebody would pay a lot of money for that, but Al Sharpton hanging out with Michael Jackson.
No, that's the kind of shit you would think you could be able to pull up on YouTube for free.
Right. Right. So he goes on to say that you don't want to spend more than 5% of the budget on acquiring any underlying rights. And most documentaries don't even have $1 million budget. So this is absurd. And they go on, they say, the appetite for Sharpton's story is also questionable. His 2013 book, The Rejected Stone, was not exactly a bestseller.
The Rejected Stone?
It sold only 16,627 hard copies, which probably all were sold to the National Action Network. And then it got into paperback somehow and sold 721 paperback copies. Wow.
I don't remember The Rejected Stone. Do you remember The Rejected Stone?
No, but I'll look it up. I'm sure it's great. Sharpton told the Post his life story rights included a possible play. There you go.
I'm telling it has to be a musical.
I would hope so. And he also has a recording of him and James Brown. Or maybe it's just James Brown. It's hard to really tell. And
Singing?
So, I don't know.
Wow.
So he said, he insisted, this is Sharpton, that the documentary was going to be big. He said, you got to remember, we're talking about me with entertainment, me with politics, from the White House to the mobsters that threaten me in the media. And he said, we're talking about a docudrama. So somehow they got some private donor to put up all this $531,000, but they won't say who.
Do we even know what his ratings? He still has the MSNBC show, doesn't he?
I think he's been relegated to just one show on Sunday, maybe.
But people are clamoring for more Al Sharpton.
Of course. Well, it's just so detestable to shake down your own charity. But this is weird, to bring in somebody else. Find some rich person that's willing to give you $531,000, but they want a tax write-off for it. Because it is a C3.
Wow.
So how do I give my good friend Al $500,000 and write it off?
See, you find this sickening. I find it fantastic.
Oh, I find it hilarious. Because then it made me remember, and we had talked about this before, that he owes all kinds of back taxes. And that there were 2 different times that there were suspicious fires that burned up all his tax documents right in the nick of time. Like he's such a squeaky clean, upstanding, fine citizen.
That's a Mo Sizlak move right there.
Who's that?
Mo Sizlak. Mo is the guy who runs Mo's Tavern. His bar he would see him pouring gasoline on his bar and set it on fire.
Yep.
That happens.
It does, and his daughter's picked up the act.
Oh,
Sharpton's. Yes, just this week she got $95,000 from the city of New York for a sprained ankle. I kid you not.
Oh, we're in the wrong business, Tracy.
Yep. It took her 3 years to get that money, though, fingers.
Oh.
3 years of suffering. So she's Dominique Sharpton.
Uh-huh.
This is also the New York Post, who just has a Sharpton beat.
Now I can see having 5 reporters on that beat.
Sure. So this is Julia Marsh was writing this. She said she's her father's daughter. Dominique Sharpton, daughter of shakedown artist Al Sharpton, scored a $95,000 settlement from the city over a sprained ankle, even though she had posted snaps of herself on social media climbing a mountain in Bali and strutting around in high heels just 7 months after the fall. So it took about nearly 4 years, but de Blasio's administration lawyers finally threw in the towel on the case. So I love this. She sued the city.
I'm surprised de Blasio even fought to begin with. I'm surprised somebody didn't whisper in his ear, hey, it's Al Sharpton's daughter. Oh, okay, give her the cash.
Yes. Well, she wanted $5 million.
For a sprained ankle?
Yes. After severely, and they put severely in quotations.
You ever sprain your ankle?
No.
Never?
No.
Oh, that's surprising because you were like an athlete, weren't you?
Yeah.
Wow. I've sprained both ankles before, and they heal. It's amazing. Sprains.
No, this is it. So she severely injured her right leg on cracked pavement on the street in New York City. So she wrote on Instagram on October 2nd, 2014, after the stumble, quote, "I sprained my ankle real bad, LOL."
How many times have you had such an the kind of life-altering event where you would need $5 million from the event? You LOL afterwards on social media.
I've never LOL'd. So perhaps, though, if I injured myself to the point of requiring a $5 million payout, I might LOL.
Yeah, there you go.
I would LOL if I got the $5 million payout. But she said she was.
Would we see you again, Tracy?
No. No. But she did claim she had permanent physical damage. But that didn't stop her from wearing high heels, mounting a ladder to decorate a Christmas tree, or even hiking 2 hours up a mountain during a girls' getaway.
Wow.
And apparently, like, she went right to some event that night for her dad and was dancing with him.
How did she get a nickel?
Because they're masters of the shakedown.
Oh, good for her.
And so they quote a personal injury attorney who was incredulous. He said for a sprained ankle, they paid $95,000. He said, "It sounds like F and de Blasio administration settlement to me. It's really worth about half that. Not even, maybe 25 or 35 grand." So.
Okay.
Yep.
I was in a car accident.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I remember.
Head-on collision, practically. I was going 55 miles an hour on a state road. My truck rolled over twice, and I ended up in a ditch. I was off work for 6 weeks. My back, I still have problems with my back to this day. I went to 2 different attorneys, and they told me I would be lucky to get $10,000.
Wow.
Now, granted, it wasn't a government truck that hit me. It was a private citizen.
If it was a government truck, I bet it would have been a different story.
Yes. So I
You're
didn't get any
hit by the right people.
Yeah, right. I didn't get anything near that. Believe me. I had to beg for lost wages, and I think I got what the hell? What do I care? I think I got $3,500 for pain and suffering.
Oh, wow. He was robbed.
70? How much? 78,000?
No, 95,000.
95,000.
So after attorney fees, maybe she takes home 70.
And well, I think part of it too is, she stepped on a crack and you break your mother's back.
It's true.
So we didn't include
that. So they've got to pay for the mother's suffering. Yeah.
That's right.
Is he even married?
Boy, that's a good question.
You never see her anywhere.
I hear you hitting the Google machine right now.
No, he was married to a woman named Kathy Jordan from 1980 to 2004.
I wonder if she... listen, I would think that part of his life story is her life story. I wonder what her cut is.
No, and I guess he's married again now to a woman named Marcia Tinsley. Huh.
I'm glad that he found love again.
Yes. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Okay, now we're...
Yes.
Almost an hour and 40 minutes in.
Oh, the people deserve it.
That's true. Well, this has been the Enough Already podcast. You can find us on SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and BitChute.
Correct.
Follow me on Twitter at FingersMalloy. Tracy, do you even tweet anymore?
Occasionally.
Where can everyone find you?
At Tracy L. Connors.
And follow us over on Facebook. You can catch the Enough Already podcast over there. And we post the show with show notes, show description, I would say.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it's more accurate.
Right. Well, that's it. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon with another Enough Already.